We do, okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this County of Newell Municipal Planning Commission meeting for April the 24th to order. Excused from our meeting, would somebody like to excuse our Reeve and Councillor? Dan? All in favor of Dan's motion? That is carried. Minutes in your package from April the 10th. How do you see those going forward? Neil? Neil moves to approve. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. Any post-agenda items? Otherwise, a motion to approve the agenda. Amanda? Amanda moves to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor of her motion? That is carried. All right, 6.1, Shanna Lee. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
Actually, Shanna Lee, if I may stop you for a moment, we do have behind Maria, sorry, I did see, hi. Let's do introductions, a quick round, okay? We'll start with Lynette this morning.
Hi, Lynette Kopp, Division 3, Millicent, Patricia area.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1, Rolling Hills.
Good morning, Nadina Scandrup, Division 2, the Hamlet of Tilly and surrounding area.
Good morning, Matt Finsky, Chief Administrative Officer.
Good morning, I'm Kelly Chrisman, and I'm from the northwest side of the county, Division 6, and I'll chair the MPC meeting this morning.
Welcome. My name's Greg Screever. I'm from Division 5, Lake Newell Resort and Castles area.
Good morning, Ellen Unruh, and I am from the area around the village of Rosemary.
Good morning, Amanda Philpott, Division 8, around Dutchess.
Morning, Austin. I'm Neil, which you already know.
Okay, Catherine, please.
Catherine Siakla, Communications Officer.
Cheryl Page, Planning and Development Administrative Assistant.
Good morning, Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
Shanna Lee Simpson, Development Officer.
Austin Beasley, north of Dutchess.
Great, thanks, Austin, and thanks for coming in this morning. All right, Shanna Lee.
Thank you. Development permit 2025015 is for the construction of a multi-use building to be used as a shop, agricultural building, and riding arena. In the land use bylaw, an agricultural building and accessory are permitted uses. However, a riding arena is a discretionary use, which is why it's brought to the Municipal Planning Commission today. The riding arena is for private use only. The dwelling and attached garage were approved on development permit in 2015. There was no issues or concerns with staff. There was no response from adjacent landowners. We are recommending approval with conditions, and Mr. Beasley is here to respond to questions.
Great, thank you. Austin, would you like to come forward and to the hot seat? I think I'll start off with a question for staff. Why is a riding arena, an enclosed riding arena, a discretionary use? Is it the sheer size of it? What would be the answer to that? Because this is, I think, the second or third that we've had in our term. So I'm just wondering why that would be discretionary. Maria.
That's a really good question and something that Council can discuss during land use bylaw updates. We are seeing more riding arenas. I think the intent of the discretionary use is that a riding arena could lead to commercial uses where there's events happening and different things. So that ends up being more significant than a personal use riding arena. There is opportunity to maybe update to distinguish between commercial use and personal use, but as it is now, it's all discretionary.
Thanks, Maria. Just food for thought. Lynette.
Just to go off of that, if Austin builds this and then somewhere down the road wants to use it for more public use, what has to happen then in between?
Maria?
That would be considered a change of use. So then a development permit would need to be applied for again, stating that this is no longer for personal use, that there is, say, going to be events or whatever that is. So as soon as the use intensifies, that would be the trigger to apply for a new permit.
Okay. Questions for Austin? He came a long way. Seeing none? Ellen?
Motion to approve the application with conditions?
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All in favor of Ellen's motion? That is carried then. I tried to drill up some questions for you. Pretty straightforward, but we do really appreciate it when applicants come in, just in case there are questions.
Thanks for everything, guys.
Thanks again. And I'm just asked to, did you sign in at the front? Would you like to sign in? That would be great. Thank you. We like autographs. Okay. All right, moving down the agenda to 6.2. Shanna Lee will take this.
Thank you. Development permit 2022 and 023. There are two separate permits because it's two separate parcels and therefore we'll need two separate motions. However, they're neighboring parcels and it's going to be one business operating over the two parcels. The business is an auto wrecking business and the associate mechanic shop and storage area. It's in the Rainier subdivision. The most recent business, the buildings were constructed in 1990 and 2002. The most recent business on there was Precision Well Servicing. There is two approaches, one to the main parcel and one to the second parcel to the east. They will only be using the one approach for the majority of the business and occasionally the second approach. The primary building will be used as an office and a reception area, shipping and receiving area, and for the sale and storage of auto parts. The second building will be used for storage. The second building will be used for the mechanics area where they're going to take the vehicles apart. There's going to be approximately 300 dismantled vehicles over the two parcels organized. They will not be crushing any of the vehicles. The shells will be taken off the parcel. The applicant has submitted an emergency response plan, which was circulated to our fire, and fire has responded, and the applicant has responded again to his questions regarding disposal of fuel and antifreeze and things. Most of the traffic entering and exiting the parcel will be tow trucks and trucks that can pull a trailer holding 3 vehicles coming into the site. There was no response from adjacent landowners. Brooks, we sent it to the Brooks RDP and there was no concerns. They did not request a meeting. And we are recommending approval with conditions. And Mr. Al-Kalabani is here and he can respond to questions.
Great, thank you. If you'd like to come forward. Let's do quick introductions so that our applicant knows exactly who's around the table. Go ahead, Neil.
I'm Neil Johnson, Division 10 rep for the county.
Good morning, Amanda Philpott, Division 10, or Division 8 around Dutchess.
Good morning, Ellen Unruh, and I represent the area around the village of Rosemary.
Hi, welcome. Greg Screever, Division 5, Lake Newell Resort and Castles area.
And I'm Kelly Chrisman. I'm from the northwest side of the county, and I will chair the MPC meeting today.
Welcome, Matt Fensky, Chief Administrative Officer.
Good morning, Adina Scandrip, Division 2, the hamlet of Tilly and surrounding area.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1 Rolling Hills.
Good morning, I'm Lynette Kopp, Division 3, Patricia Millicent area.
Catherine Siakla, Communications Officer. Cheryl Page, Planning and Development Administrative Assistant.
Good morning, Sandra Stanway, Brooks Bulletin.
Shanna Lee, Development Officer.
Hi, I'm Maria Jackson, Supervisor of Planning and Development.
And if you'd like to introduce yourself again, that would be great.
Qusay Al-Kalabani, I'm trying to do a business in the county. I'm
Yep.
hoping it will go well.
Welcome. So we're here to approve or discuss approval of this business in the county. Are there questions for staff or, sure, go ahead.
One quick question. Is this going to be kind of like a pick-apart business where folks can come in and take their own part off the vehicles, or will you dismantle and only sell the parts depending on what part a person would need?
No, it's not going to be looking like pick and pull. It's basically full service auto wrecker.
Okay.
But you will be selling the parts, right?
Yeah. We will be selling parts. We use different platform. We will be using like ePay, Facebook Marketplace. There is a website for auto wrecker called carparts.com. So, I would say 60 or 70% of or more. We're expecting to have online sales or over the phone sales. We're not expecting a lot of foot traffic in and out from the business.
Is this a new business to the county? Is there any others in the county similar? Anybody know? Yes, sir.
I think there is a business close to this parcel. It's called the Prox Auto Towing and Parts.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think they concentrate on parts. Like they do mainly towing, and whatever car they get from towing, they try to sell the parts from it. But they are not on car parts, and their main business is not the parts.
Okay. Thank you. Lynette.
On the paperwork, I believe it said chain link fence that would be going around. I thought that, or what I've seen most of the time with auto wreckers, is it's a solid fence. Is that not our criteria, or?
Shanna Lee.
We do not have that in our land use bylaw that it needs to be a solid fence.
Yeah, Amanda.
This question is for Shanna Lee. Under the emergency response plan, there's quite a list of conditions there. Who's monitoring that to make sure that he is in compliance?
Shanna Lee.
I'm not completely sure. This is new for us, but it would be our fire chief, I would assume.
Any other questions? Dan?
Don't have a question. I'm happy to see this type of business coming to the area. So I'd make a motion to approve it as recommended.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All in favor of Dan's motion? That is carried. Yes, Shanna Lee.
Because it's on two different parcels, I have two different, so is it fair to say that Dan made a motion to approve both on two separate motions? Okay.
That's exactly what he was thinking. Good job, Shanna Lee. Is there anything else you would like to add? You're good to go? All right. Thank you so much for coming in. Much appreciated. And just a reminder, did you sign the register at the front desk when you came in? There is a register there. We ask that you sign. Yes.
Okay. This is the first county I feel it's a pro-business. I tried with Rockview County before, and they are not pro-business. Not only me, I know a couple other businesses, and I think they are moving out of Rockview County because of how complicated they make it for businesses to operate.
Okay. Mhm. That is great to hear. Thank you so much for that feedback, and we'll talk to Rockview about that. No, we won't? Okay, okay. All right. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. There were no post-agenda items. Is there a reason to go in camera? Seeing no hands. Any questions in the queue, Catherine? Hearing none, I will adjourn this meeting then. Thanks, ladies. Okay, I'd like to go ahead and call this County of Newell council meeting for April the 24th to order. We have some members that need to be excused, Reeve Dirksen and Councillor Johnson, who would like to make that motion. Greg will make that motion, thank you. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Minutes from our last meeting, April the 10th, are in our packages. Any questions, comments? Motion to approve? Adina, thank you. All in favor of Adina's motion? That's carried. Call for post-agenda items. Is there anything you would like to see added to the agenda this morning? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda then. Amanda, all in favor of Amanda's motion? That's carried. Any questions in the queue, Catherine, this morning? None, okay. We're gonna do our best to just carry on down the agenda this morning, which will be easy to follow. Bylaw 2089-25. And Lane will take this one this morning. Good morning, Lane.
Good morning, Council. Stuart's away today, but I think we have landed at a point where most of the discussion that has taken place previously has been considered and dealt with in what we are bringing forward this morning. After the discussion during the last meeting, there's been a few edits that have been made to the bylaw itself. There's two sections within the text of the bylaw, sections 7.2 and 7.3, which have both been modified to address specific concerns that were raised during the last meeting. And there's been some additional edits to Schedule A and 3 edits in Schedule C. So the intention of those are in direct response to the concerns that Council had raised previously. If you have some specific questions about the edits that have been made, I can attempt to answer those. If not, Council should be in a position to move forward with second reading as amended and third reading followed thereafter.
Great, thank you, Lane. Are there questions for Lane on this bylaw? I read it, and I do feel like staff heard us and our conversations, so that's much appreciated. How would you like to handle this request for decision? Dan?
Let me just, there we go. Now I'm in the meeting. I'd motion that we approve second reading.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All in favor of Dan's motion? That is carried. Thank you.
Are you comfortable with moving forward with third reading?
Go ahead.
Sorry, on that, with the absence of Councillor Hawley and Reeve Dirksen, if Council's open to the idea, we'd look for third reading May 8th, if that's not a total inconvenience.
Okay. Thank you, Lane. Have a good day. 7.2, raw water irrigation. Shannon, morning.
All right. Right. This bylaw is to recoup some costs associated with the raw water conveyance in the hamlet of Rainier. The costs for this account are received at the end of the calendar year and will be divided among the benefiting parcels of land through the special tax bylaw the following year. And I'm looking for 3 readings if possible today.
All right. Thank you. And this is a usual annual?
It will be going forward.
It's new to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we did, I think I highlighted, we did send out letters to everyone that it affects so that they had an advance heads up, and we received no comments back. So.
Okay. Thank you. And that communication was dated when? Do you know?
Yeah, it went out not this Monday, the Monday before, I believe.
Okay. Almost 2 weeks ago then. Thank you. Bylaw 2102-25, Lynette.
How did we deal with this before we are doing this now? Like, how did they pay for raw water before?
Shannon.
They didn't. So we did a review, and then this was flagged, so we followed up and are starting now.
Okay, thank you. Some of the water loss was found. The annual water conveyance. So how do you wish to handle this? Makes sense? We do it in other hamlets? Go ahead.
I move that we give first reading.
Great, thanks Adina. All in favor of Adina's motion, first reading? Thank you. Second reading, Lynette.
I'll make a motion for second reading.
All in favor of Lynette's motion? That is carried then. Thank you. And we'll need approval. Go ahead, Ellen.
Consent for bylaw 2102-25.
Thank you. All in favor of Ellen's motion? That is carried. And finally, third reading, if you will, please. Amanda.
I'll make that motion for third reading.
Thank you. All in favor of Amanda's motion? That is carried then. You're good to go.
Thanks. Did you want me to stay for the next one, or you guys?
You bet.
Okay.
You're welcome to do that. 7.3, tax rates.
So this is just a follow-up from the last meeting. We did first reading, and now I'm looking for second and third. We've received no comments or concerns about the bylaw.
Neither for or against, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
I thought it was a pretty good news story. That didn't flow as well as I thought it should. So we have a bylaw in front of us for taxes for 2025. How do you wish, Dan?
I'd move second reading.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of Dan's motion? That is carried. And are we looking for a third? Yes, okay. 7.2, yeah. Do I have a motion? Lynette does.
Yeah, motion for third reading.
Okay. All in favor of Lynette's motion? That's carried. And okay. We're stopping there today. Second reading? That was, oh, right. I skipped down from 7, yep, thank you. Delegations. And we're a bit ahead of time because we're just that good. 10:30.
5-minute recess while Todd gets down here.
Okay, yeah, we can wait for Todd. On hold for 5. Thank you. Catherine?
Good morning. So as you know, every year around this time, the county prepares an annual report, which includes audited financial statements as well as department updates and a message from our reeve. In your package, you'll see the 2024 annual report has been included and is presented to council for review and feedback.
Great, thanks, Catherine. And might I say, it looks mighty fine. It's very good. If I could give a suggestion that you ask the reeve to sign the report, that would be awesome. That's my only request. Anybody else? Do you agree that it looks pretty awesome and it reads well? Inclusive? Greg?
Yes, it looks great. The pictures are really amazing in the report. Yeah, not much bad to say about it. It's the county, we're in really good shape. Yeah, not really anything bad to say. All looks real good.
Thank you. So a motion to approve would be in order. Amanda?
I'll make that motion.
Amanda moves to accept the annual report for 2024. All in favor of Amanda's report? That is carried. Good. 10.2, carrying on. Newell Pro Rodeo Breakfast. It looks like we've been asked if we want to participate again. Is that it, Matt? Okay, Ariana's got that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so this is the annual Newell Pro Rodeo Pancake Breakfast that you've been hosting with the city for a long time. Standard motion, they're asking us to participate and contribute to 50% of the costs.
And that is Friday, June the 6th at like 4 in the morning, right? And we share costs 50-50 with the city. They take care of the organization. Lynette?
I will make a motion that we continue the tradition.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, let's vote on that motion. All in favor of that? That is carried. All right, Todd has arrived. Todd, would you like to come forward and speak to us about weeds, your favorite topic?
Well, specifically, I'm here to ask you to make some legislative appointments, but we can talk about weeds at any time.
Okay.
If you guys are interested.
No.
So the first RFD up there, I believe, is just more of a going through the motions. We do this every year. It's a matter of appointing our vegetation management technicians under the Weed Control Act as inspectors and officers under the Agricultural Pests Act. Is there any questions about making those wonderful motions?
No questions? How about a motion? Lynette moves. All in favor of Lynette's motion? That is carried then. And respectively, a motion to appoint pest inspectors for the ensuing year. Dan? All in favor of Dan's motion? That is carried then.
Perfect. I really appreciate you guys' support on that one. You're so chatty today. What is going on? Did you guys have a really tough MPC meeting, or I forgot to watch?
It's been a week. It's been a week.
Okay, well, that's okay. Well, the next one is a fun project as well.
Yes.
I'm only here for two small things, and one we're done, so 50%. The next one is just a review of our rural beautification policy, and then assign a wonderful counselor judge for our rural beautification program, doing the judging with myself, and I think we're probably going to bring the new girl, Amanda, with us as a mechanism to show her around the county a little bit. She's not very local, so that would be a great way to show her some wonderful people and introduce her to the area. So one of you wonderful people, or maybe we pick on somebody that's not here, is going to get an opportunity to come with. That's not, you're all wonderful, Adina. I think as long as you guys don't pick Dan, I'll be super happy. If you could please use your microphone, Dan. Anyways, my apologies. I was just trying to lighten the mood a little bit.
Yeah.
We did make some minor adjustments to the rural beautification policy last year. It was mostly in regard to conservation efforts and giving some extra points for that. I think that still stands. I didn't really see any need to back off on that thought process. We were happy to visit the yards we did last year and seeing all the wonderful things they were doing. Although conservation might not have been forefront for everybody, but it was still good to see. So with that long-winded saying nothing, I'm a well-trained government employee, guys.
How do you wish to handle this request, Council? Dan?
I like the idea of it, and I'd like to keep it going, so I motion that we approve.
Okay. Before we go there, we could put it all in one motion. Did somebody want to volunteer? Who has done it recently? Lynette? Adina?
As much as I would love to volunteer for you, Todd, I will be in Edmonton, so I'm unavailable, unfortunately, for you.
Anybody else like to volunteer for this? It is a function of council.
It is a lot of fun. You get to hang out with him.
Yeah.
And he brings cookies usually.
And you get lunch. Adina?
You get lunch, you get to hang out with Todd, and changing the policy to include that's, things that make it environmentally friendly made it a lot easier to judge, I felt, than it has been in the past.
Okay, thank you. Do we need to set that person now? Because it's in July, correct? Yeah. So I'm wondering if we can leave that for now because of our schedules, and that's so far away.
Okay.
Okay. Dan made a motion to approve the policy as presented. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. Great. Now, before you go, there is a question. Neil.
Oh, just a quick update on your CDC adventure.
I don't think there is such a thing as a quick update on that adventure, but we are happily moving forward. We've signed two leases right now. One for 14 acres of research land that's going to be utilized for chemical research, so like herbicide research on kochia and downy brome. And we have 20 acres that a company out of Lethbridge is renting from us. They're, I believe, mostly just getting it prepared for next year. So they'll be growing, they're paying this year, but they're going to be growing lentils and I believe a cereal crop. And then we have a previous group that has utilized the site for many years. That's we anticipate they're going to be signing probably this week. And then we have the Griffin building. We have two organizations that are going to be utilizing about 1,200 square feet. They should be signing this week as well. And we have one more organization for the Griffin building that wants about a third to a half of the building. So we, and some warm storage space. So we hope to sign that in the near future as well. So that's in terms of the fun stuff, signing leases, that's kind of where we're at. Still lots of interest, still doing tours. We've kind of moved some of our efforts into the groundskeeping. So the crew has been out there, spent probably 3 days kind of cleaning up around the main entrance, some of those buildings, getting that prepped. We anticipate doing some mowing, not this week, but next week once our crew shows up. There's some of our crew has been around for a while, so they don't need the same amount of initial training as the others. So they'll get out there and start that. And then the rest of the non-utilized land, we anticipate making some decisions on here pretty quick, what we're going to be growing or renting to a previous renter, those kinds of things. We've had some, the Bow Island site is a tricky one. We had that, we thought, lined up 100% to be utilized by a research organization, and then just with some of the past history in the area and the cropping that's being done down there, that kind of fell apart. So we are not exactly sure what we're going to do with that parcel yet. We're still engaged with a different research outfit out of Vauxhall, hoping that they'll be looking at doing some pulse research out there, but we don't have anything lined up for that. So we've made some headway. We've started, the little things that come up. I don't want to call them the headaches, but the little things that come up in an older facility that just kind of take some time away. We're doing that. We're getting our HVAC contract signed or are out for quotes right now, and we've got our janitor in there doing a little bit of work. Outside of that, we're just kind of moving as fast as we can and trying to get some revenue and figure out how to monetize stuff that hasn't been monetized in a lot of years.
That was an excellent report. Thank you.
Oh, that's good.
Greg?
I'll put you on the hot seat a little bit more. As far as user groups to use the grounds and area and that space, how do the grounds look for people to start using that area, and what kind of do we have any kind of booking plan for people to use that area, let's say, and can we start marketing it to the general public to, go out there and enjoy it, just book it through us? Where are we at with that?
Just call Candace is currently the plan. We haven't actively marketed it out there for user groups. We have one wedding that was booked last year, so it's set up for September of this year. We have a group that has reached out looking at utilizing the grounds for a car show maybe that we're working with right now. The tricky part is that nobody has necessarily had to pay money to utilize the site before. So when we let them know that we have a schedule of fees bylaw that we can work within, and that's all we can work within without having to engage Matt to make any other decisions. That's sometimes where the conversation falls off because they're not used to that, right? So it's not part of their budgets. But I think as time goes on, that will become part of their budgets. And it's just allowing people the time to understand that, somebody has to come in and clean the washrooms. Somebody has to stock the washroom. Somebody has to clean the picnic shelter. And those things all come with a cost, and they didn't come with a cost before. And so it's just allowing people to get that. We're working, there's a couple school groups. One is out there next week. I believe it's Rosemary, just kind of going through the Arboretum. They're doing some tree stuff. That was kind of set up before, so we're not able to monetize that. But, as we go on, there's got to be some give and take, and I think people will get there. But it's a good reminder that we should start marketing it for user groups for sure.
Matt?
And I'm thoroughly impressed with the work Candace and Todd have been able to accomplish in a short amount of time, and I just encourage each of us to have patience as they do their work. I mean, it's the things like trying to map out where pipes are going in the Hargrave, or week and a half ago we lost a piece of the greenhouse and having to tend to that stuff. It's not the most exciting tasks to look after, but when it happens, we have to respond. So that that takes capacity to respond to those types of things away from marketing efforts. But we've got a pretty great start out there. And onward and upward, the calibration to the new reality that the site needs to operate on a cost recovery basis is going to be a hurdle for people to get over, and that is the test. Is there a demand? Is there a market for those assets at a cost recovery basis? We're very optimistic that there's lots of opportunities out there for cost savings. And the first year is going to be a ton of lessons learned. And I'm very happy to have Todd and Candace on that file. I would take 2 additional staff if council wanted to throw some more full-time equivalents at it. But you know, it's a big job just on the building envelopes alone and getting those renovated. So one of the if you call it a wall, we're hitting right now. Yeah, the province has approved some money in their budget, but the province also has their own internal processes that they have to get through. So we're waiting on budget codes from Treasury Board and who gets to approve what money is getting spent there. We were hoping to have been spending money already. There's a number of renovations we'd like to get complete on the Griffin building so that it's ready September 1st for folks to move in. So we're not expecting year 1 is going to be perfect for us, but we're on the right trajectory.
Great, thank you. Greg?
Well, on that topic about staff, are we taxing our staff too much for this project, and do we need additional people? I know that we're running pretty lean and mean, which is great, but you know, we also don't want to overtax our staff. So is there a need for more people?
Not yet. And to be fair, you know, council was generous and approved additional spending for a couple extra mowers, and we do have an extra ag technician in the budget this year. So, you know, I half joking about the capacity, but it is, you know, it's a whole new business line that we've got. There's a learning curve that comes with it all. And yeah, patience, we're getting there. And we do have paying partners, which is good.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that Matt did a great job of, it's a good synopsis. We don't know, and we don't know what everybody's going to require. So I think the trick will be, it's actually kind of nice that we don't have all of the acres utilized, because we don't know exactly what these different groups are going to require of us to help out. And sure, we have a price that we've set to help them out, and nobody has balked at that at all. Just the trick is everybody going to want the same people at the same time? And I think this is kind of a nice way to float into it with just the 3 or 4 user groups. And I know it sounds bad because we'd like the whole place to be functioning, and it's still our goal, but it's almost May, so we don't anticipate it being full. But yeah, so we just don't know.
Mm-hmm. Amanda?
Todd, when you talk about non-utilized land, what does that look like?
Just areas that aren't utilized for research currently. Oh man, it's tough. I think the entire envelope is about 700 acres, but there's lots of tree rows and road spaces and ditches and all the rest of it. So I think if I had to put a number on it, I'd say probably 450 to 500 acres would be able to be utilized for research. And that's, yeah, so we've only got 15% of those committed out to people to utilize.
Greg?
With respect to our ag equipment, do we offer the people that are going to be renting land from us to be able to rent that equipment at the rates that we are asking for?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, not currently. No. The one outfit, the Hammond Ag out of Lethbridge, they brought their own equipment up to do some herbicide applications, and they have requested some help to maybe do some field work to prep for seeding. and we have the availability of the Alberta government equipment to do that. So there's stuff on site to do that as well. And then, yeah, of course, our no-till drills and brilliant seeders and everything else, we're happy to allow people to utilize at a cost.
Good. Neil has another question.
How's your ponderosa coming along?
It's growing probably the nicest crop of winter wheat I've ever seen currently. But nobody has actively wanted to rent it out.
Okay. Any other questions for Todd? Seeing none? Have a good weekend, all right? Going back to pancakes again. Matt, do we need a motion to partner with the Bassano Council on their pancake breakfast?
Council has approved in budget cost sharing on both of those pancake breakfasts, so you're covered on the partnership. I think bringing it here is really trying to peg down who's going to flip pancakes.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Who's scheduling into their day timer the pancake breakfast on June 6th? Lynette, Adina, Dan, Amanda, Greg, Neil. I am. So it looks like we have good representation. Okay, thanks, Matt. Bassano is June the 21st. And I'll talk to you also, Adina, about the band. Thanks. I haven't asked you yet. Yeah, oh, good. 10.3, Citizens of the Year, request for basket. That's an annual request, right, Ariana? Mm-hmm.
It has been. I think Holly's brought it up. Sorry, Councillor Holly Johnson has brought it up a couple times. This is the last year that they're doing in that format, so this might be the last year we're providing gift basket.
Mm-hmm. And you would like a motion to approve? Lynette.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the gift basket that we give to FCSS for this.
All in favor of that motion? That is carried then. Thank you. Looking forward in your day timers, are there any requests for functions of council? Yes. Oh, Ariana, sorry.
That's okay. I lost my agenda on my screen and kind of panicked for a bit.
Oh.
This fits in with functions of council. The second part of that RFD, historically, you've made a motion approving approval of any councillor to attend the gala as a function of council.
Oh,
so if you want to attend, I can get tickets for you. They're $20 each.
Okay.
Yeah.
That kind of fits with our topic anyway, functions of council. Good. Would anybody like to go to the Citizen of the Year? I would imagine Amanda is going and Holly is on that committee as well. Lynette?
I'm going, but I got my own tickets because I was going regardless.
Okay. Okay. Ellen?
Yeah, the Junior Citizen of the Year comes from my division, so I would like to attend as well.
Okay. So we need a motion. Yes, Adina?
I'd like to go because Lynette's going.
Okay. So typically we have 2 councillors go, but we're up to 6 now. Okay. So we need a motion to Amanda, Holly, Ellen, Adina, and Lynette, 5 that I know of. Neil?
I'll make that motion. Make it a function of council for those 5 councillors.
Right. Thank you. All in favor of Neil's motion? That is carried then. Functions of council out of your day timer. Are there any requests for conversation? Hearing none, carry on. Let's look at committee reports. I put one in there for Joint Services and Halo. Are there any questions on that? Lynette?
The only thing I saw in there is you had written that the hall entry at the Duchess Hall was complete. It's not yet.
It's not?
No.
Okay.
No. It's a lot of the way there, but it's not all the way done.
Okay, thank you. I haven't seen it. Somebody was telling me that, so they misinformed. Okay. Are there any, let's carry on with committee reports. Newell Regional Solid Waste Management.
The main thing to report out there is that Sean is in contact dealing with Global Green. It's tied up with the lawyers right now on the MOU, but that's progressing. Other than that, nothing more to report on that. And Sewa is tied in there. They're kind of in the throes of figuring out a way to dissolve.
Oh.
We don't really, I shouldn't better word this correctly.
Yep.
There's not really a function for them anymore like there was before, so our main focus should be with Newell Regional to deal with Global Green, to get our own plant going, and that's where we're focusing. And there's 3 other areas, Bighorn and Tabor are also stepping up and have committees set up to deal with Global Green, so something's going to happen here.
Greg?
Neil, is it worth for us to just opt out now? Are we at that point? If there's any heel dragging or anything like that, we don't really need that as far as the county goes.
That's a decision where our dues are paid for this year, so we're in till next fall or whenever budget time comes where we have to pay again. But that would be a council decision, which I would probably support.
The AGM, which they haven't had for 2 years now, is set for November after the new council has arrived. So they...
Well, just a side note there too, there's quite a few of the executive that aren't running again in the next election. They've already made it clear, so if we lose somebody like Ray Juska, that takes a big bite out of Sewaw's credibility. So we'll see what happens after the next election. But
okay. All right, Newell Recycling.
Not too much to report there. We're working on getting a budget written up and sent to Newell Regional Solid Waste so that we can work on getting a little bit more consistent revenue stream going.
Do you have a timeline for that? When Neil can expect to see that?
No.
Okay. Do you want to carry on to Shortgrass?
Yeah, and with Shortgrass, I'd just like to let people know or make it a reminder that most of the libraries in our area are charitable organizations, which means that if you donate to the library, you get a tax receipt that you can use on your taxes. And if the particular library that you want to support is not actually a charitable organization, Shortgrass has has passed a policy that twice a year they will issue receipts for any library that needs that help. So if anyone that you know wants to bequeath something to a library, that would also be happily accepted.
Good information there. Thank you. And also, every municipality is automatically a charitable donor, or not a donor, a recipient, charity. So all municipalities can accept donations as well for different items or different organizations and help them out as well. Just have to clear it with the CAO. Brooks Park and Rec, Greg and Neil.
Yeah, we had our meeting on April 16th, and not a huge, not a large number of things on the go, but we are now back to approving up to $500 for kind of small type of things that happen from organizations or from user groups in the area, if they want to do, say, use the rec facility or something like that as part of their activities. So we are back to approving or not approving those. And then we did have a presentation on a climbing wall and kilter board, which was kind of interesting. It would be something that would be able to be put into the rec center, and so we've kind of directed staff to just look at it, come up with some numbers, and come up with some ideas of where it would possibly go, and maybe that might be something that the Brooks Rec Department will pursue later on. But it looks interesting anyway. So, and that's my report.
Okay. Any other reports that may have been missed? Okay. Moving along, Matt, is there anything you want to highlight in strategic priorities? No? Okay. Any questions for Matt on that update? I have a question on Safe Communities report. Who writes it? Where does that come from? The city. Pardon? Oh, there is still a coordinator? So whoever's on that committee, Greg, can you ask that person to author their report? That would be awesome. Kind of a stickler for that, because I like to know where it's coming from. Any other questions on information items? Seeing none, we will adjourn for a recess. We can do in camera. Okay. Okay, let's take 5 and then come back and go in camera. reconvene. Our delegation has arrived. Gents, if you would like to join us at the front, please. Welcome. And I think we need to do a round of introductions. New Staff Sergeant, yes, we're being honored this morning. Oh, my mic.
We are being honored. It's not like you said anything bad. It's all very
All right, Neil, start us off, please.
Good morning. Welcome, Neil Johnson, Division 10 Councillor.
Good morning and welcome, Amanda Philpott, Division 8 Duchess.
Good morning, Ellen Unruh, and I represent the countryside around the village of Rosemary.
Hi, welcome. Greg Screever, Division 5, Lake New Resort and Castles area.
Morning, I'm Kelly Chrisman, and I'm from the northwest side of the county, Division 6, and I'm sitting in for Reeve Dirksen today as Deputy Reeve. I'll chair this meeting.
Welcome back to the community. Nice to see you in the flesh. Matt Fensky, CAO.
Good morning, Nadina Scandrup, Division 2, the hamlet of Tilly and surrounding area, and Joe's neighbor.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1 Rolling Hills.
Hi, I'm Lynette Kopp, Division 3, Patricia Millicent area.
Catherine Siakla, Communications Officer.
Ariana Nielsen, Executive Assistant.
Morning.
Sandra Stanway, the Brooks Bulletin.
Hi, everyone. So thanks for that. It's great to meet all of you, and Matt and I have previously spoken, and so I just want to maybe say a little bit about myself. So the reason I'm here today is I'm the new detachment commander in Brooks. My first day was actually Tuesday, so I'm still trying to get things figured out and get settled in and things like that. I previously served in Brooks in 2017 to 2021. I came as a watch commander and I worked alongside Sergeant Searle at that time. And I did some acting as the operations NCO, as did Sergeant Searle. So we worked quite closely back then. Sergeant Schmidt and I have done a little bit. I never worked with him directly at that time, but since then I've actually done a little bit with him and gotten to know him. So yes, I'm the new commander. I'm taking over from Sergeant Searle. And I look forward to this. A little bit about my history. I've been in the RCMP as a regular member for 16 years. All of my service has been in Alberta, mostly in central and southern Alberta. I started in Three Hills, I went to Stettler, I went to Brooks, I then went to Claresholm. I was kind of hubbed in with Nanton, looking after both Claresholm and Nanton at that time. I got sent down to the Piikani Nation on a long-term secondment, and I was down there for about 4 or 5 months. And then I went to Drumheller from there, and that's where I've come from. So lots of my service, I've been in a supervisor role or a commander type role, from corporal to sergeant to staff sergeant. So I come with a little bit of experience, and I come with some ideas on different policing models and crime reduction and crime prevention and things like that. So I look very forward to working with the existing detachment, which, by the way, I've had a look at, has done a wonderful job on policing and so on. So I look forward to jumping in with the team and continue to make good things happen, so to speak. So today I won't be presenting the quarterly reports because I haven't even seen them yet. So, but these two gentlemen will present those, and probably going forward after that, it'll be myself presenting. Although we'll probably maybe even share that role. We'll figure that out. So, anyway, thanks for having me, and I look forward to working with everyone.
Great, welcome. Thank you for coming in and introducing yourself, and really hope that your work here is fruitful.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, who would, traditionally, Brooks goes first, right? We got to keep tradition. Okay, all right, next time.
Well, thank you for sticking with tradition and letting us go first. So this report covers January, February, March of 2025. During that month, we responded to 286 calls for service in the county. We lodged a total of 90 prisoners in cells and completed 94 criminal record checks for county residents, issued 50 violation tickets. Some miscellaneous investigations in January, February, March. On the 16th of January, we had a theft at the landfill. We responded to a complaint and learned that on the night of the 15th, 3 suspects had cut a fence and gained access to the landfill and stole some scrap material. The material was loaded into a vehicle and the suspects departed. Through the use of CCTV, we were able to identify 3 suspects and we charged them all with property-related crime offenses. On February 4th, we responded to a 3-vehicle collision at the intersection of Highway 1 and Range Road 150. We determined that 2 vehicles were traveling south through the intersection when a 3rd vehicle attempted to exit the highway, failed to navigate the turn, and collided with the driver's side of both southbound vehicles. Poor road conditions were a factor, and no serious injuries were reported. On February 25th, we had a report of an arson at Dinosaur Provincial Park. We attended the scene and found that the fire had since burned out. However, we discovered sheathing of copper wire at the site. Witnesses reported seeing suspects arriving in a U-Haul van and then departing shortly after the fire was observed. We made some patrols in an effort to locate the vehicle. However, we didn't at the time, but the investigation is still ongoing. On March 7th, we received a report of approximately 200 feet of copper wire stolen from a pivot out near Patricia. And then on March 9th, we received a report of a suspicious female and male asking for fuel at a residence on Highway 544. The homeowner refused, and the pair left their vehicle that they arrived in and then walked over to a neighboring property where they stole a truck. We arrived on scene and discovered that the vehicle they had left was also a stolen vehicle from Redcliffe, and we later located the stolen truck and arrested the driver. We laid charges against both the male and female. And just some crime statistics, like if you look over the course of the last 3 months, like it does show that property crime has increased in the county. We had a couple thefts from pivots, like the wire that was reported. I'm not even sure that it occurred recently. The warmer weather, you know, farmers are getting out and checking their equipment, so they're starting to discover things that might have been stolen over the winter. We had a couple break-and-enters that they were broken into on one day. We did our investigation. The people came back. One of them was a residence that someone had been staying in, so they came back. So that counts as 2 statistics of break and enter. That happened on 2 of our files. So the numbers are a little inflated because of that, but we have laid some charges that seem to have slowed down some of the property crime in the county. That's my report. If there's any questions, you know, we'd be happy to answer them.
Questions? Yeah, Ellen.
So about the copper wire, so companies that receive that, would they not think that perhaps this could be a stolen item? Or how does that work?
Yeah, they certainly might. And we had some really good legislation in the province that allowed the scrapyards to report, or required them to report everything to the police, along with taking the names of the individuals who were scrapping these products. And that's really been supported by the police and by the government in Alberta. And there was some recent case law out of a decision that negatively affected that. And I'm not really sure what the status is, if they're looking at appealing it again at a higher level in the court. But as of right now, the scrapyards aren't required to collect that information. So there's still workarounds, and we're still we're still getting people on copper wire thefts. We're just having to go about different ways of doing it, so.
Vandalizing irrigation pumps, that's fairly new, isn't it?
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it's vandalizing. They're stealing the wire out of it. And it's, we saw it a little bit last year, and we saw it more now in the spring. Like I said, it probably happened sometime over the winter, but yeah, it's new, and it's, you know, for the amount of scrap you're getting out of one of those pivots, I would suspect that the cost of repairs greatly outweighs that. So it's
Is that right?
pain for the farmers. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions? Greg?
Yeah, as far as the scrap goes to the scrap yards, is it something that would be a good idea for maybe us to lobby with the provincial government, with the powers that be that put that legislation in? Would it be beneficial for us to maybe pursue that?
I think it's worth the conversation and letting them know your position on it. But again, the province isn't, this legislation came from the province. It's their legislation. They're in support of it, and it was as a result of a decision in court that it got struck down. So, but it's certainly worth bringing up, and yeah.
Just to pile on that question, because I have found out a couple things. That legislation, yeah, it was the case law was defeated, took that powers away for us to be able to get that information. It was appealed by the province, and then it was held up again in court, and that just came down last week again. So yeah, huge tool that was taken away from us in that regards. So
Hate to hear that. Lynette?
So what's the reasoning behind them taking that away? Is the whole privacy thing? Is that the idea?
You want to go? You can go ahead.
yeah, that's what we were told too. It's under privacy legislation that, you know, what right does the company have to come to be able to obtain all that information? The tough thing with the scrap, like a lot of service I did in BC, we had a huge issue with that with the scrap yards too. It was brought in, supposedly that's been repealed too. It's because at the end of the day, most construction materials are the same. If you get tech wire, aluminum clad wire, it's really tough to differentiate between whose wire is what. Did it come from a demolition? Did it come from this? And although some environmental factors kick into play with levies and that, where, you know, it came from this property, you know, this is the address, this is like the environmental report, it has to be tracked that way. When that information is grabbed that way, it doesn't necessarily correlate into them being able to share it with us in a legal sense to where there's action that can be taken against it. And we got to the point when we were there where we had, like, you know, bait cars, that sort of stuff. There was bait wire for that time, and a lot of the fiber optic cable is so valuable, there were serial numbers put on that. When it comes to the tech wire and the housing construction wire here, they don't put serial numbers on it, so there's nothing to differentiate. The only things that can help is if, you know, if something is stored in a certain way and a person would put, the owner would put, like, say, their name or a specific way that they always kind of bundle their wire, put their wire together, then they can speak to that in court and say, yeah, that's my wire, proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. How hard is it for a person to cut a couple zip ties or something like that too? So scrapyard can't really differentiate that, but they try. Like the local one we have here in Brooks is very good at, you know, they have such a good relationship with the farmers and their construction guys around here that they'll phone them if they know the wire is gone and that sort of stuff. So like I say, there's avenues we can work with, some tools we can have, but it's certainly a more complicated process.
Adina?
So when someone shows up with a U-Haul full of wire, nobody wonders what that's about?
Oh, everybody raises an eyebrow, but knowing and proving in court is two huge things. And that's, you know, what we come across with everything is knowing and proving. It's just, it's such a vast difference. And when it goes to a crown, they're like, beyond a reasonable doubt. Yeah, we all know. However, like that information, although sometimes not provable in court, is still great information for us because it's usually the same people doing the same things all the time. You know, or a small group of it, right?
If I may, I'll just chime in on that as well. I think it's further complicated by there is actually legit metal recyclers out there that are doing the same. They're bringing in loads of coppers and metals as well. So picking out, what is criminal and what is not is even, more complicated when you consider that as well, so.
Okay, Dina?
I would think, though, a legitimate person would have their own truck and trailer. They wouldn't be renting a U-Haul, but I find it frustrating because I know legislation sucks.
No, it's just, it's been great working with you guys, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm just taking back my substantive position, so you'll probably still see me around the community, so.
Good. Well, thank you for your ongoing work, and thank you for taking care of us over the term that how long were you in place?
Just over 2 years.
Yeah, so, okay. Going to be a transition for both of you. Yeah.
Pretty seamless, I think. I've worked with Rob long enough that you'll.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. That's awesome.
One thing I'll maybe add to that, one of the first things I did when I arrived Tuesday is I started looking at what the detachment was working on, the processes in place, the kind of the policing model in place. And I want all of you to know that I was pleasantly surprised and pleased that this detachment is very proactive with policing and very involved and doing a lot of things right, like on a very, very high level. So it gave me great sense of comfort and no surprise, just looking at the crew that is here. But I want everyone in this room and the public to know that you are seeing and receiving some really, really good policing. So again, just very pleased to see that and want to share that with you.
Great, thank you. Good comfort in that. I have a question about victim services in Brooks. There's been big changes in the organization. How's that working out in Brooks?
It's working out good. Like there's been some changes to the service delivery model, but at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's suffering over it. The victims are still getting the services they need. Most of the changes are just looking at addressing and streamlining their processes. So, plus in our particular case in Brooks, we've gone from one full-time position to 3, and then an additional victim service worker working with child sexual assault victims. So we're in a much better position than we were a few years ago. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Sergeant Joe.
Thank you for having me as well. So for the Bassano quarterly report, we've noticed a lot of the same trends that Brooks has as far as the property and pivot thefts. From January to March this year, we did 40 criminal record checks at the detachment. We had 166 calls and events for service. Numerous kind of presentations throughout the schools for as far as lockdown drills with our kind of area schools. Lots of pop-in visits. We did a couple impaired presentations and career presentations for them. We did 250 proactive patrols throughout the areas during that time as well. We did the bar walk of our bar and the curfew check of our curfew guy. We only have one, so we do those throughout the month, and no issues with any of kind of the town sort of stuff. Everything's been up and up, which is good. We had 30 violation tickets and 20 warnings and 3 impaired investigations in Bassano during that time. Staffing wise, we received our new recruit at the end of January. She's been off the ground running. She hasn't been on schedule to bring her here, but when she's on schedule and working, I'll bring her to the next meeting so you could introduce her to you guys too. She comes from BC. Long line of both parents and friends all come from 30, 40 years worth of policing in the RCMP. So she hit the ground running. She's been doing really good. She's staying in Bassano right now and or living there. And so far, so good. So she should be done her field coaching program near the end of July, and then she'll be on her own and working with Brooks and Bassano in that regard. Some of the significant files we had, January 5th, near Chancellor and Standard, we had $20,000 worth of wire stolen from an oil well site and an additional $10,000 damage to it. Basically, the suspects pulled in, hooked up huge, like it was like a 4-inch cable to their vehicle, peeled out of there and pulled a large chunk of that. But there was no physical evidence, no cameras, nothing like that on scene that we got, and phoned around to all these scrap dealers, and nobody had seen, because it's fairly unique kind of metal, because it was such like thick gauge wire and all clad together 4 inches around. Nobody around here or even the surrounding area had any like that come in. So far no suspects have been identified in that. We had a break and enter to the gravel pit there just north of Gem. Same thing, it was a time frame. Winter loader's been sitting in the gravel pit for the month of February. The owner comes in and realizes the padlock's been cut on the loader or on the gate, and there was some damage to the hoses and that on the loader, and the fuel tank was sucked dry. But no suspects, no cameras, nobody'd seen it. And it's quite in a remote area, so there's not even really anybody who would see it coming down.
Ask.
Absolutely.
Was that our gravel pit?
Yeah. Oh, not, it wasn't your guys's, it was a private owned one, so it wasn't ours, it wasn't county equipment or
Thank
anything
you.
like that. Yeah, it was a private one.
I just had to ask.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then coming into March, we had oddly 2 structure fires in Bassano, a block and a half from each other on the same night. Busy night for Bassano Fire, they did awesome. First one, we just got the fire reports back. There was nothing to indicate arson, but it was a block heater on a pickup that spread from the pickup to the garage and caused quite a bit of damage, and the pickup was toast. But yeah, after the fire did their investigation on it, it was deemed to the block heater. The next one was a structure fire to a residence, and that started about 1:45 in the morning, and a fire had caught through some faulty wiring in and above the attic, and it spread fairly quickly, doing significant damage to the home. But both, you know, it's completely separate incidents, but happened like so close in time. It was proximity-wise, it was odd. And then near the end of March, we had a crash notification on an iPhone, which is a huge increase kind of technology-wise. We're seeing a lot of now is that we're getting the crash notifications dispatched out to it with not knowing a lot of detail. That one was just outside of Hussar, where basically we got the notification, we rolled up and determined that it was a male from Calgary. He was out fishing. He was impaired. His vehicle rolled several times, but he was uninjured from that. But he received provincial sanctions and a 30-day suspension, and his car towed from that one. So that's kind of what we've been noticing in Bassano too. The big thing for us is like, obviously our property crime stats like go up by 500% when there's like 5 break-ins, because it's kind of a fairly odd thing. But it certainly seems kind of the one specific group that's obviously doing it and targeting these pivots. In one we had one in September, 6 sections of wire were taken off the pivot. It's about $1,800 a section for the wire for that, and then the repairs on top. So we've gotten another one since then, and it's the same time frame. It's like, oh, we checked on it and at the end of the season, and now we come back and it's gone. So any kind of physical evidence is toast. But there seems to be a push kind of that we're going through it. Sergeant Searle sent out a really good thing for the rural property crime. We doubled down on it as well, as like the wildlife cameras. Those are huge for us. Put them in an ambiguous spot. They don't take much battery power. They're not that expensive. It just gives us a jump off point to where we can, like, you know, activate some of our South District crime reduction teams and get them involved in these sort of things too. But that's the report for Bassano. Any questions, happy to answer them.
Still working with Brooks quite a bit?
Yeah, everything's been kind of status quo with that. We're still doing the 24/7 model. It's kind of like a unification of services, and it's, I think, been a huge benefit. Resource-wise, it certainly helps us when we're down a member due to holidays, training, that sort of thing. It's given the 24/7 coverage. All these property crimes that are happening, none of them are happening at like 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. They're always happening during the night hours. If we were on call, we wouldn't have that coverage. So you can't be out there doing the proactive patrols. So although, we do get a report of 2 or 3 come into us, at the same time when the guys are out in the rural community, and sometimes even just throwing their lights on to, like, sometimes if you can't catch them or solve them, you can at least scare them away. I would greatly wager that without that model and having that in place, you'd see an increase in these rural areas that do have the on-call coverage. So it's a huge benefit. And, working with Brooks, if, they're flush with resources and so are we at that time, well, you can send 2 or 3 guys out. And even though you're doing a check stop or something like that, the lights travel a long way around here. It's just, that visibility, I think that certainly helps.
It's great. Greg has a question. And then
Yeah.
Annette.
With respect to the wildlife cameras, is it something that maybe some education needs to be done with some of the pivot owners? It's something that maybe they can adopt to their or attach to their pivots and be able to pick up any movement that happens, because that's what they are, right? They pick up movement. Can they be on there for a long period of time and without I don't have any knowledge of those cameras, but is that something that could be maybe pursued?
Yeah, that's certainly something we've been pushing. I've met with the GEM Fire Department because most of those guys all have, pivots and that sort of stuff. In Bassano, we've done the same. I know Brooks has done the same thing too. Putting that education out there, we're putting it out through any media releases we have, all our social media, that sort of stuff. It's something we're really pushing for because as the technology is advanced, like we've even told them to, fuel theft was a big thing in Brooks in the county like two summers ago. Throw them on your equipment, like throw the dash cameras in it. Like the technology's gone so far where it's gotten so cheap. It's such good, clear video and there's a deterrent. Like out in Tilly where I am, Bantry Seed Farms, they have them on every one of their farms, right? So they can monitor it. And I mean, it helps them too with it. I know talking with a few of the guys that are local to me, a lot of them are getting, so big into crop and management of animals with drones and stuff. Well, now they're getting their drones and they're having night visions and different spectrums on them too, so they can pick that sort of stuff up at night too. And a lot of them are like, well, hey, can we use these drones to be able to try and say catch something if we notice something at night? I'm like, absolutely, all that stuff. The threshold we find in court now is it's getting tough for us to like people's word and police's word sometimes just doesn't matter as much as it is video. Like that's where body cameras are a great thing for us too. That video helps us. And if you can't be out in your field, and who expects to live in their field, throw it and like don't put it in a spot that's, put it by a fence under some brush, by that, Texas gate where it's gonna see somebody roll into it because this stuff's so heavy. They need, cars or pickups, to haul that out. It's going to detect that motion, and 9 times out of 10, it's in a stolen pickup or something like that too. And if we get prints off that pickup, well, now we can link them back to the wire theft and that sort of stuff. So it's for a small investment, they're really, really good quality and a huge deterrent, and a little bit of peace of mind and stuff too, because we've been doing a bit of a campaign rolling around talking to your neighbors, and it's hard to see a suspicious vehicle when half the oil sites are all white F-150s and half the cars we get are stolen white F-350s and that sort of stuff. It's hard to pick that out for everybody. So there's hypervigilance, and then there's a little peace of mind that comes with it. So certainly something we've been promoting and pushing, and we're going to continue to do so.
Good, thank you. And maybe we can help with that through our Ag Service Board.
Yeah, that'd be great for sure.
And website, our communication feeds.
Yeah, and we can send you that sort of info and some of the releases we have that you can put on your board and stuff that spells it out. Like I say, so they put out a really good one last week where it's like, 5 or 6 quick tips, without a huge investment. When you're talking $1 million combine, all of a sudden $100 camera is pretty cheap.
We have a pretty good following on our social media, so anytime you have things like that, please forward them.
For sure.
Okay, Catherine is your lady. She'll receive them.
Awesome, great.
Okay. Any other questions? Lynette had one.
Yeah, just a little more explanation about the crash things with the phone. Is that with the phone, or does that go through the GPS on the vehicle? Or I don't actually know how that all works.
I think I don't have the smartwatches yet. Everybody, I think I'm the last one to party on that one. But even a phone or crash notification, if the phone receives like some sort of shock or impact, it will send it out through Apple. I believe it's Apple or whatever the carrier provider is, to like our OCC dispatch. And then more times than not, they've actually been a founded sort of thing where like we roll up there and maybe get like an odd 911 that was a misdial. These things don't misdial. Usually there has to be quite an impact to it where it's generally the phone's velocity hitting the windshield or getting flung out of a window, and it'll give us a pretty tight map area and GPS location. If the person, can't talk or they're injured, quite severely, then at least it gets the ball rolling for us to be on the way.
Great knowledge, information. Anything else, Council, for our wonderful folks in blue? Perfect. All right. Well, I think we'll take a break. It is noon, and we invite you to stay for lunch. Hopefully you can do that, and we can carry on the conversation. So we will close down for lunch, Catherine.
Perfect. Thank you.
Catherine, we're good to go? All right. All right, I'd like to call this gathering back to order. And I'd like to welcome our next delegation to Council. I'll start off the round table of introductions. I'm Kelly Chrisman, and I'm from the northwest side of the county, and I'll chair the meeting today. To my left,
Matt Fensky, CAO, welcome.
Adina Scandrip, Division 2, the Hamlet of Tilly and surrounding area.
Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Dan Short from Division 1, Rolling Hills.
Hi, I'm Lynette Kopp. I'm Division 3, Patricia Millicent area.
Neil?
And I'm Neil Johnson, Division 10, Arumbrooks.
Good afternoon, Amanda Philpott, around Dutchess, Division 8.
Welcome, Ellen Unra, and I'm from the area around the village of Rosemary.
Hi, welcome. Greg Screever, Division 5, Lake Newell Resort and Castles area.
And I'll just explain, we do have two councillors that are missing, our Reeve and Councillor Holly Johnson. So we are one of those larger councils around the province. Back at the back is Catherine.
Catherine Siaklik, Communications Officer.
Cheryl Page, Planning and Development Administrative Assistant.
And I'll let you take it away, Paul. Just press your mic on.
Had it. I must
There
have
you
been.
go.
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity for allowing Carly and myself to speak on behalf of a proposal that we have for your region. We've been traveling the province. We were in Drayton Valley yesterday with the same idea. We will make some connections, hopefully, to other communities and counties that have listened to our conversation here today. And we're open to any questions at any time. Please feel free to stop us, interject, or wait till the end. It's completely up to you. Currently, we're dealing with some significant labor challenges in this province, as I'm sure you're all aware, and that you deal with every day. We are both public educators in Lethbridge, Alberta. I've been teaching for 32 years and still teaching. Carly's been teaching for 22. And I've been working across the province with career education, both for the University of Alberta, the University of Lethbridge, and for academic research, and trying to help the Alberta government come to some new understanding of what we should be considering for labor education. So as you can see from the screen there, those soft skills are not how to make a cake or cut a piece of wood or even farm, but those are the skills that currently are according to research, are the primary skills that employers are looking for. So what we're going to address today are not only the hard skills, but also these soft skills in the proposal that we'd like to make to your municipality. We thought it was really important to be in the room with you rather than doing this virtually, and that's why we're traveling the province. We wanted to make connections with the smaller communities and have an understanding of who we are and who you are, and try to make those relationships with you. Just want to point out a couple of pieces of research within our data finding. The Alberta Chamber of Commerce is dealing with some significant numbers here, and we're talking specifically about high school students. High school students trying to find occupations and labor opportunities in this province are found to be unprepared. And a lot of them that we deal with in high school are generally not lost, but they're not certain in the direction they want to go. And you can see by this stat here, due to the lack of CTF and CTS offerings in this province, especially in rural Alberta, we think that has a lot to do with this challenge. Now, it's not the fault of any rural area, it's just the size of the rural area and what your schools and your communities can offer. So what we're hoping here is to offer an opportunity that will only contribute to your community and not take away from any school, not take away any funding from your school, and not take your students away from the communities that they live in. You can see the work challenges here, the barriers that are the greatest for them. It's hard to find basic skills. It's hard to find people that are willing to be trained, and the time required to train them. So this is talking about people up and above high school age. We deal with high school students across this province that are looking for opportunities, yet they don't know where to find them, and they don't know how to be trained by them or where to get the training for them. So a little introduction of who we are. Currently, I'm a teacher in Lethbridge. I've been working on career education for 25 years in this province. I currently teach at the University of Alberta, a virtual class in the evening, specifically with career education the focus. I've worked a couple of years at the University of Lethbridge in career education, and also do extensive research in this particular area across the province. I did a major project just outside of Medicine Hat with Prairie Rose School Division and helped them with their decisions on where they were going to provide their education over the years. I'm also the president of the CTEC Council, which is the Career and Tech Education Council of Alberta, which is over 2,000 Alberta teachers. So having all these relationships, we have the opportunity to create a team of 13 teachers from across the province, 7 of which are within the Lethbridge area. The rest are distributed all over the rest of the province. We've also have an advisory team of school administration, both at district levels and at school and at high schools, and 23 vocational and professional advisors that help us in all industries, from agriculture right through to legal studies, law. We deal with pretty much every vocational and professional opportunity that students would have in high school. And this is where you come in. Our hope is to create a partnership with the towns and municipalities of Southern Alberta, as well as across the province, of populations of small schools. As you can tell here, the workforce challenges that we have, 20,000, and we found out yesterday that those numbers are low, and what we're suspecting over the next 10 years of job opportunities. You would think that would be fantastic news for high school students, but without the opportunity of high school students knowing what those careers are, how are we going to fill those positions? So our job here is to get into high schools, specifically with graduates, and talk to the 18,000 rural Alberta high school students and how we can help them get career education and opportunities that the bigger centers have within that Queenie Highway illustrated on that map there. Over the next 10 years, we're going to have over 800,000 students graduate high school, but less than 10% of those students will have taken career education courses in high school. Now, those are specific within the CTS world. Obviously, math and sciences and language arts, those types of things are needed, but specifically within the career and tech studies courses. The government has suggested building new schools as an answer. However, knowing in your specific county, you're in a fairly big center, or close to a big center, but there aren't a lot of small schools being built these days. And within those small schools, they're not getting the opportunities because they're not getting the priority for new schools, which also leads to not having the priority of new CTS labs or construction labs or baking labs, those types of things. So dealing with remote students such as, and I'm going to use Bassano as an example in your county because it's the farthest away, but I've also worked with the teachers in Dutchess and realizing that they're so close to Brooks, but yet they still have those challenges of that small community being next to a large center. The government has also talked about registered apprenticeship programs being a solution. As you can see by the numbers up here, we have 0.0002% of our students in Alberta registered in an apprenticeship program. And if you compare that to countries like Scotland, Germany, Ireland, you can see those numbers we're falling way behind in these apprenticeship programs. So the government touts these programs, they fund these programs, yet it's a tiny, and they're great programs, but it's a tiny, tiny group. And I think many people think that the government's answering our problems by offering these apprenticeship programs. From our research, we're finding, again, the rural placements are very limited, and it's very intimidating for young students to go into apprenticeship programs, especially in bigger centers if they're not from a big center. So if we're comparing Alberta to Germany, Germany's 50% of their population in high school takes vocational and professional education rather than what we would call mainstream academics. Here in Alberta, we don't know that exact number. We've been trying to work with Alberta Ed for the last 4.5 months. They have not given us the numbers yet, but we believe it's less than 3%, and we're hoping to get those numbers soon. So what we're trying to do is show that post-secondary is a great approach. It's a fantastic investment if you make the right decision. And all too often, young children and young adults are making decisions that cost them a significant amount of money. Uninformed decisions also lead to poor decisions on investments. So with post-secondaries across the country, specifically in Alberta even, there are programs being cut, whether they're second language programs, whether they're academic or vocational programs. The big parts to this one slide are those two blue parts. We're cutting positions from the builders, the growers, the makers, the doers, the first responders, the caregivers. And we're also cutting into our particular wealth and economic strength if we don't deal with academics in vocational professional education in high school. Now, there are collegiates, and you may be familiar with these around the province. The government's funding these collegiates for high schools. There are 12 currently operating in this province at about $9 million a school. Those schools can deal with about 1,000 students total. 9 out of those 12 collegiates are in urban centers. And the ones that are in rural centers are very, very specialized and very small. There's one in Medicine Hat that deals with aeronautics. There's one up in just north of Edmonton that deals with heavy-duty trucking. So they're very, very specific. So our goal here is to illustrate how we can become an option for your rural community here. Not only for the students themselves, but it's also for the community and growth patterns. Education looked like this back in the early turn of the century. We had reading, writing, and arithmetic. When I was going to school, it looked like this. Lots more options, but very structured plans. And currently, Carly would back me up on this, this is what education looks like. There's a starting point, an end point, and so many options, but very difficult to provide all these opportunities. We're hoping to show you that we can do this. If we take a look at these groups that are flashing up on the screen here, these are the communities and the interest groups and the players in our community that have a big impact on providing career education. What we've been doing over the past 4.5 months is connecting with partners like this, and you being one of them. We are dealing with 12 to 13 municipalities, rural municipalities, a number of towns within those municipalities to hopefully grow this community partnership. We're dealing with industry partners, and you can see everything from agriculture to home building to energy to have these as resources and to help us with this educational plan. And then we're also working with the economic development groups and getting their numbers and their networks to work with us. We're a small group of teachers. We're 13, but we think we can work with over 700 students within the next year and a half. And as this grows, we will build a second venue in northern Alberta that will be more close to the northern part of the province. But we think with our growth, Alberta Ed is the one funding factor that we have in place here. And they're the only funding factor that we're looking for. So often I'm sure people come to you and ask for money. We're not here to sit in front of you and ask for any money. We are a publicly funded school is the idea. We would be funded just like any other school in the province. But we would be a partnership with Bassano School or Duchess School. We wouldn't take any funding from those schools. We don't take any credits from those schools. Those schools graduate within their own communities, within their own schools. We're a supplementary part to that school. So we call this the educational horseshoe, and these are the communities that we hope to hit. We chose Bassano School, not to say that all the other ones there wouldn't have the same opportunity. We chose Bassano School just for geographic sake right now. We're open to all of those schools within your county that have high school students. The impacts of the students, rural kids will have more access. We won't deal with any schools bigger than a 500 student high school population. So all of your community schools would reach this. All the big centers have these opportunities. The small schools don't have the opportunities. Our school hours will be very flexible. We'll have hours from 8 till 5 o'clock at night. So if a student chooses to do this outside their schedule, they can, or if they do it at lunchtime, or if they have a spare. Our opportunity being that we would be a virtual school to provide the safety, the background knowledge, the measurement skills, the design skills, all of the background, and then actually have a 3 to 4 week hands-on opportunity within their community, either with the partner of the school that they're in, or within networks that we create within your community, whether that's a chef or a welder or a nurse or a doctor. Cosmetology. We'll show you the range of our courses that we're going to be offering right away here. Each child will have a personalized course development. So we may have 13 kids from this region, but each one will have ones that they specifically designed for themselves. We'll be able to offer 1 credit courses combined to make a 5 credit high school course. So rather than being a woodworking shop for 5 credits where you're cutting, measuring, hands-on the entire time, we would teach them also marketing, entrepreneurship, communication skills, and then have the hands-on piece so that when they get to the second level, grade 11 courses, they can get the more in-depth skill. But they have those communication skills and those abilities to do those soft skills virtually through us. And that's how we're able to offer the diversity of the courses and across the province. We would focus on the employability soft skills, but the opportunity to expose students to multiple careers and pathways is what our goal is. And that's what the government's current goal with CTS and career education. We wouldn't have any tuition fees, which rather than making that decision when you're 19 years old, you can make it when you're 14, 15, try something, realize this is something I like, something I don't like, go on, it costs you no money. And gives them more confidence for post-secondary selection and also then seeking employment. Once you're used to something, you've experienced it, you're more than likely to find an opportunity out there that's something similar to what you'd like to try. Now, this is how it would work within the communities. The rural school, using this simple diagram of the school, single school, we recognize that's not the case in most of your communities, but they are small rural schools. The populations are small. What we're hoping to do is attach a virtual wing that would be able to provide more courses for those students. The staffs like Duchess has a staff of 13, 14 high school teachers. We would be able to expand it to 21 students without adding to their budget or and decreasing the workload of those current teachers. Instead of teaching shop, math, phys ed, social studies, they could focus on the math, social studies, and we would provide more of the career education stuff. except for those specialists that those schools have hired. So we're hoping that we can expand those opportunities for students, again, without taking any funding from those schools. If anything, we're providing an asset and an add-on to those schools. Now, this all came about from Paul McLaughlin, discussion with him, and I'm sure many are familiar with the Reeve out of Ponoka County. It came from an interview that he had on CBC. I listened to it, and he talked about the struggles that his community was having. And I talked with the people in Dutchess and how they lose some students right into Brooks because of the opportunities that Brooks High Schools offers. Now, we think we can combat that by keeping kids within their community with this virtual opportunity at grade 10. And then grade 11 and possibly in grade 12, maybe they do go to a bigger center because they have those skills already, but they haven't left in grade 10 already. So we're working with as many of the municipalities that have joined on or want to join on with this partnership. And hopefully the impact that we're going to provide is that we're providing opportunities for rural students. We're creating mentorship so that those students actually know what their communities can provide for them and the advantages of staying where they are, and promoting the resiliency of rural Alberta and their regional groups. Now, the documentation, I believe this was sent early, and you might have this in your package. This is the abbreviation of what we can do for your community. Here's a quick summary of what the courses look like, and I know it's small, but this is the vast extent of CTS in Alberta. We would offer 195 courses in the very first year, single credit courses. Now, that's a combination of all those courses, and as you can see, there's a great variety. Students have an expanded opportunity here to be exposed to careers. And by year 2, we would have over 500 courses available to students in order to build their program. Now, the reason why this all came about was I was presenting for the Alberta Chamber of Commerce, and they decided that they wanted me to speak to 250 of academic and economic leaders in Alberta and Edmonton in November. I listened to the Minister of Education, post-secondary minister, and they talked about how funding was not going to increase significantly, which deflated the room. I put up my hand and asked the question towards the minister, but to the whole room, how many of you 250 people have CTS credits? And 5 hands went up. And I said, how many of you have more than 5 CTS credits? And no hands. I said, that is the issue here in Alberta, is we have a need for workforce labor, but nobody's taking these in high school. This room that's making these decisions, nobody took CTS courses in high school. So that's where we come into play. We hope that we can provide this extensive program to rural Alberta, because these opportunities are just not there. What we're looking for from you is a formal endorsement that we can pass on to Alberta Education, to Alberta municipalities, to Alberta workforce as well, to those ministries. We're looking for an advocate when you get to meetings and you start to talk to community members, because we're going to need that partnership. We're going to need those placements for jobs for your students, whether it's welding or working with logistics or transportation or just the general communities that the municipality provides. Suggestions of how we can provide these opportunities. Recruitment of partners, meaning that we have a small group. We have 13 people. And for us to extend across Alberta, we're going to need these networks of people to be able to make these connections. And then to spread the word. And when you're in a municipalities meeting somewhere across the province, hopefully you cross paths with someone we've already talked to. But if not, explain to them how this is potentially, or how it will eventually in the future, help out your community and the students that grow up here. You've got another document that's just the who, what, where's, and why about us. And we're open to questions.
Well, this is totally in line with what Germany has been doing for years. I have a friend who used to come over during the summers, and he took plumbing as early as grade 9. He knew he didn't want to be a plumber. Anyway, awesome. Questions, council? Neil?
I don't have any questions, but I'm really glad you showed up, and I've learned a lot in the last 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it up. I support you already.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I could just speak to your comment about Germany, there's a group of us going to Ireland to find out about the registered apprenticeship program in July, and also to learn from the Scottish program. We talked about going to Germany, but we're going to hit those two first, because Alberta and Canada struggles. We only offer 50 registered apprenticeship programs here, whereas Germany offers 350. Scotland offers 700, and Ireland offers 230. So there's a definite gap here. So just to comment on what you said.
Yeah, and they've been doing it for years. This is new for Alberta.
Yes.
Meet Dan, who is a CTS teacher.
Okay.
So he'll have a good question.
Soon to be a CTS teacher. Still in the bridging program. But I did teach CTS last year. One question is, did you reach out to the school board to find out what our needs are here?
We have not yet. And the reason we connected with municipalities first and with some of the town leadership is we wanted to make sure we could create a network. Going to a school board, and you're in the bridging program? I taught at the U of A in the bridging program just last year here, so that's interesting that we're finding that school divisions are relatively siloed still. And we want to make sure that we don't come in as a competitor. We want to be a partner. So being able to go that we've talked to your municipality already, we've talked to the town of Bassano or Dutchess, and we can create this network, and we're not going to take any of your funding. So our next discussion after today is we'll get an immediate communications to their school board and talk with the superintendent and the potential principals of the schools that we would hope to pilot to begin with. So yes, that's our next step.
Go, Dan.
So to follow up with that, Grasslands is actually currently preparing an application for what they're calling Prairie Sky Collegiate, which will be offering exactly what you're talking about right now, which is fantastic. The other thing is we don't have rural high schools in the county, Bassano, like you mentioned, and Dutchess, but they're their own municipalities. So, County of Newell doesn't have any rural high schools. So as lovely as it would be to keep the kids in their rural high schools, there is a push from Tilly to actually try to get their high school back, but the numbers just don't support it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out. You're looking at single-digit numbers of students for all of high school that would apply for that. So,
if I can comment on that, the reason we did go with the counties is because the number of agricultural kids that come off of farms into these smaller communities would be, your constituents. So we wanted to make sure that not only talking with those small communities, that we've hit the municipalities as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry.
Makes sense. It makes sense, and I see your point too, Dan. So, good point made. Mm-hmm. Amanda.
I just want to say congratulations, and it's about time. It's nice to see this, and we're keeping kids in school, and they're building success. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll briefly comment on that too. This is not uncommon, the conversations we're having. We've had 100% support from everyone we've talked to. We have approached Alberta Ed with a collegiate aspect. However, when we do that, if we become a collegiate, we become a direct competitor with all small schools, because we would have to offer language arts, math, social studies, and then we're drawing those kids from that school. And I'm not sure that's the same as the collegiates is going to be run here. So rather than us wanting to do that, we went to Alberta Ed and said, we don't want to do that. And they have stopped throwing hoops in front of us because they don't have any more hoops to throw in front of us. They just don't know the next step here. Our latest communication with Alberta Ed was about 2 days ago, and they said, we will be in direct contact with you with our next steps. So they are in support of this. It will be definitely directly interesting on how they see funding us. We've put a budget forth. We will be virtual, so they're not building us a building, which they like. There's not a lot of money there. But there is obviously our funding to staff the building, those types of things. So it's great to have the endorsement of so many people, and having the opportunity, that written endorsement from your municipality will go a long ways. whether it's in the minister's circle, talking with a few of the different ministers. They listened. I'm from Lethbridge, and often I get lost in the whole political piece. But from what I understand, they listen to municipalities a great deal. So that would be up to you to agree or disagree. But that's why we are approaching the municipalities. And you can see the groups we've talked to. We're going to hit 4 more here in May. And our goal is to have 12 pilot areas to get going either by January of this coming year or September of the following year. It would be a 6 to 12 month setup of being able to make sure that we're ready to be operational.
Great. Dan?
One more question. Sure. You kind of answered it a little bit. You're going to focus mostly on the grade 10s, which I get. Grade 10 can definitely be theory heavy. But there's, and grade 11 and 12, you got to be in a shop, in a kitchen. It's got to be mostly hands-on. How will you handle the hands-on portion for the grade 10? Because there is still a hands-on portion.
Yeah. Depending on the content, if something like tourism is different than woodworking, logistics is different than cosmetology. And the hands-on piece, what we would do is work with the schools, if they have those locations and they have those shops available, we would either bring our staff in for a 1 month opportunity, 3-week, 1 month opportunity for that hands-on opportunity. So the other opportunity that we can provide is if we can make those networks in smaller communities where they're actually working with a local mechanic or they're working in a senior's home with the healthcare aspect, that would be their hands-on piece. So that's where the networking piece comes in. And we think once we create that relationship in grade 10, that may be an ongoing one in grade 11 and 12 into an apprenticeship program, or that extension that we recognize that possibly Bassano has 15 students that might see this as a potential. We can help them. Some of the research that they did with the Prairie Rose Division is help redirect $1.3 million into CTS funding of student interest. Their top 3 interests were agriculture, healthcare, and tourism, and they didn't offer any of those when we did the research for them. So their traditional lab spaces are obviously really important and popular. Everyone likes to eat. Foods is popular. Woodworking is usually a cheaper lab to fill than a welding lab. So that's popular. But it's also restricted on the number of students that you can offer it to if you can only offer it once a semester or once a school year, or potentially to only 20 students once a school year. So that's our hope, is to create those partnerships to answer more directly, I guess, your question.
Good. Lynette?
So I'm just trying to understand exactly how you're going to do what you want to do. So you're just going to be targeting high school students? So do they, is that yes? Yeah.
Our initial recruitment would be in grade 9.
Okay.
So before they get to high school, yes.
Would they, so in grade 9, grade 9 student would like to do some of this stuff. So the soft skills you talked about, they would do some of that. Do they have to have a decision as to what they want to do with the hands-on, like right away at the beginning, or how does that kind of work?
Yeah, the way the courses are designed is it's more than just woodworking. They would have an exposure to marketing, promotions, communications. So they're actually being exposed to at least 4 or 5 different CTS strands, and recognizing that, well, maybe I'm more interested in the marketing of something than the actual building of something. So by career exposure, exploration and exposure to more careers, that's how we're hoping to guide them through it. With our course being in a semester, you would have 5 credits. If they end up going through the first 2 and realizing they don't want to go in that direction, we're flexible enough that and the courses will be available that they can make a mid-semester change into another credit course. So traditionally, if you're in a 5-credit woodworking course, you're in a 5-credit woodworking course. Mm-hmm. If you decide that cosmetology is not your strand and you're more interested in legal studies, then we can make that switch, because it's all project-based and modular-based education. So we can handpick from different areas. Yeah.
Sounds amazing. I want to sign up. Do you have a template letter of support, or do you want us to draft our own? What are you gathering?
I am more than happy, and as is the County of Vulcan, to share what they have put together. They were the first to adopt a letter for us. We can provide that for you and give that to you if that's what you'd like to see. We're very happy with the letter that they wrote for us. We have another 2 coming in over the next week here, probably from both Beaver County and Roseau County.
Okay.
So we'll provide that, yes.
Okay, thank you. Although Jason Schneider is kind of sketchy, so I'm not sure we'll sign his. I'm just kidding. Any other questions before Paul and Carly? Dan?
Not a question, but I'd like to see us have a conversation
absolutely.
with our
Yes.
with our school board before we endorse, because like I said, the school board is putting out this almost very program. So before we have a discussion with our local school boards, I don't think it's appropriate for us to be endorsing something else that's offering the same service. I'm totally on board with that. I think this as an option for certain areas is fantastic, and I'm thrilled that somebody's doing it.
And I appreciate that. And actually knowing that the collegiate is a potential here, we'll directly speak to that with them. We don't want to compete with the courses that they're able to offer, but if they are going to go into career education and we can actually supplement them as well, we want to be a partner. And knowing that the collegiates, there are other collegiates in the province here. The only reason we did not go with being a collegiate is we would be in direct competition with other schools. So the collegiate they're building, what community is it in, or will it be in?
It's it's Grasslands Schools,
Right.
which covers all of the county of Newell.
Okay.
There's also Christ the Redeemer or Christ the
Right.
King. I forget which they actually are now.
Richard.
Christ the Redeemer.
Yeah.
So the Catholic School Board, they're actually partnered up with us for the collegiate. So is Lethbridge Polytechnic, Medicine Hat College. And again, it's still in the works. We're looking for approval. They put a lot of work into it. But that's basically the communities. It covers everything within the county of Newell.
And I, knowing that process, I would say they have a pretty good chance of getting announced here in the next. I know they wanted to announce 12 more collegiates, and we did go about going that way, and we did consider going to charter school. We considered going to private school, but again, all of those options are strict competition with small rural schools, and this community may be one that doesn't require us because you're able to build it yourselves, but all the other ones that we've spoken to so far. They're either so far away from a collegiate or a post-secondary institution that this was something that they thought was worth supporting. So recognizing it may not fit this area, but we definitely will communicate with Grasslands to show that we would be a cooperative partner for sure.
Good point. Lynette?
So have you met with the town of Bassano and the village of Dutchess?
Not yet.
Or it was with the schools?
I've met with Dutchess School, and that's the only group. Again, we've only been doing this for 3.5 months, and it's happened so quickly, and we both still teach. We're on Easter break right now, so we're not missing teaching. So the group is relatively small, but we've gotten so much momentum, we don't want to lose that momentum. With Alberta Ed being so supportive within 3 months, that we will be extending ourselves into those schools once we speak to the Grassland School Division. Yes.
Good. Well, we thank you for your presentation, and we look forward to more communication from you, and we wish you well in your steps forward.
Thank you. Once we do speak with School Division, we'll definitely be in communication again to, if they're in support, then hopefully that works out.
Great.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Great. Thank you
awesome.
for your opportunity.
Thank you so much. It's good to have a good news story. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I just need to remind everybody in the room that we are online and we're having viewers not able to hear your conversation, so either use a mic or zip it. Thanks again. All right, I think that ends our agenda for today. I am getting the nod, so I would like to adjourn this meeting then. Thank you all for your attention and your support getting through it.
Thank you.